Oh, yeah,
wasn't there. What the hell happened?
Now they moved it to by the theater.
No, we walked
right?
by the theater, Mr. Fancy Pants Theater.
Uh-huh.
Theater. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Bike and the Feather podcast, week 3. Let's talk about week 2 first, though, because I think I know, you're making a face already. I think week 1 and 2 has proven to be just like that craziness that you cannot just even predict. In fact, I got 3 big shout outs to the first 2 weeks of the season. First off, like big ups to the Madden curse. You know the Madden curse, right?
Yep. Christian McCaffrey's on the cover this year.
Is this any more proof that if there is some kind of evil you have to believe in, it's Electronic Arts, and I don't know if Trip Hawkins still runs it or not, but Madden cover, Christian McCaffrey, probable to start week 1, by the end of week 1 on the IR. Now, but big pros because it's decimated fantasy leagues too. This isn't just a player's career. This is like, how thrilled were you to have CMC, not you, the royal you,
right?
To have CMC for your first pick in your draft, and your season's over if he doesn't come back soon, and you did not draft a lot of great studs in between.
It's hard to bounce back, yeah.
It's hard to bounce back from that, but yeah, the Madden curse is proving itself to be an all-time real deal.
Yep.
Second shout out is the New York Giants for finding new and creative ways to lose games they shouldn't lose by going ahead and fielding a hurt kicker who then can't finish the game, and you have no backup on the roster who can kick field goals. So now once your punter tries and shanks one field goal, you are forced to, after you amazingly score, to only go for 2-point conversions of a 50% or less proposition all time in the NFL. Like, that's just like, where is their thought process?
The Giants broke a record this year. They're the first team in NFL history to score 3 NFL touchdowns. The other team doesn't score any touchdowns, and they lose.
And they lose.
Like, that is an epic record. They find ways. Unfortunate, they played well. They should have won that game. Okay, let's just be real. They should have won that game. And Elite Neighbors dropped a very catchable ball that would have probably locked it up for him, and for all intents and purposes. Yeah, it's a rough break. I mean, the Giants, the beats keep coming, you know? I mean, but they look good. They look good. There's an upside. Daniel Jones actually played okay. The defense looked good. They didn't give many offensive touchdowns to a pretty dynamic rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
So there's a positive, but in the end, they're still 0-2.
Hey, 15 more weeks to go for the number 1 pick. So just got to make sure Carolina doesn't...
16 weeks to go.
Oh, well, true, with 15 games.
Yeah.
Okay. And finally, in my constant bid for us to get sponsorships from the Westgate, I wanted to mention, if I just noticed this weekend, I'm not sure when it started, but it looks like it's a permanent thing because they advertise it right on the app, but all the spread picks are now at -108 instead of -110. Is
that full time from now on?
It just says, now all picks -108 for NFL and -109 for college. It didn't seem like it was a temporary thing. It looked like it was.
I know they had that in the past years. On certain days, you could get a cheaper line for juice, but yeah, maybe they're doing it all the time.
Yeah, I'll have to check and see this weekend and see if it's still there. But that was, it's something. It's better than a kick in the teeth.
Hey, save a little bit of money, 2%, whatever.
Should we start about Thursday night and the attempted murder of Tua Tagovailoa? I'm going to say it wrong. They probably knocked consonants out of his name. The way he got hit.
It was a standard hit, though. I mean, he made a big mistake. He's supposed to get down. There's just no reason to fight for an extra yard or 2 there, especially when he's not a very big guy, and he's a guy that's had not one but multiple concussions that literally have left him like
this is
having
4th and 2
essential
years.
seizures on the field.
4th and 2 years.
So it doesn't make any sense why. He's a gamer, he's a competitor, but that was a big oversight just to get a couple yards, more, and then. Ironically, it's against Damar Hamlin, who nearly died on the field.
I thought about that.
I mean,
that's not a coincidence or a connection I want to make, but you can't ignore that.
But the hit was fine. The hit was completely legitimate, and it was a basic thing that probably Tua is just he's. My opinion is he needs to shut it down.
Take the money, take the guarantee.
It's not about take the money. It's just that he needs to shut it down because if he doesn't shut it down. Who cares about a couple years of football? Yeah. He's got the rest of his life to live.
Yeah, I'd rather have the money and it'd be nice to have the hardware on the shelf.
He has a bunch of money already
but
too. I mean, he already has a bunch of money. I mean, he can figure it out with the money thing. He's already made a good chunk of money, and I'm sure that if they force him to retire, he actually gets to keep all of the money. But if he retires on his own, then it's going to be a little bit trickier as far as. But I don't know. We'll see how that works out.
Well, we had some players not even make it to the field before they were out with injury. Let's just look at some of the injuries really quick from this week.
Well, Evan Ingram, my tight end on one of my teams, he all of a sudden he strained his hamstring in warm-ups. Like, by definition, you're warming up. I mean,
yeah, got to stretch before you got pre-stretch before you stretch now. I guess
I guess
the safe way to do it.
And that cost me in my league too.
So we also have Cooper Kupp leaving the game in a boot. So now the Rams are down Puka Nacua from week 1, possibly till week 9. I don't think there's a timetable for Kupp, but walking off with a boot is never a 2-week outage.
Kupp, it said he can miss extended period of time. Most likely he's going to go into IR as well, possibly. So yeah, they're and then they have I think 4 offensive linemen that are hurt and injured or out or whatever. They got a young running back and they got Kyren Williams, who's pretty solid, and Matt Stafford, but Matt Stafford doesn't have anybody to throw to.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm pretty sure that's going to be a nail in the coffin for the Rams. I don't think they bounce back from that. And by the time Puka comes back and Cooper Kupp, that's the thing, he's injury prone. So now he got hurt. Even if he comes back, he's not going to be full strength the rest of the year. And it's probably going to be a nagging situation. So I stick a fork in the Rams in my mind at this point that, I don't think they have a shot to win.
And another loss was too bad for the Chiefs, but Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, he's going to be out boot. 2 months plus. Yeah, 2 months for Pacheco. And so they're bringing in some running backs to try out and to see what happens. They're bringing in Kareem Hunt again, the guy they cut.
I saw that. And let's not forget, we got A.J. Brown missing a couple of weeks. That was our surprise in fantasy. We weren't even sure if we were going to start him because they weren't sure if he was going to play.
That cost us the league this week. Yeah. We lost by 7 points, and we substituted A.J. Brown for Gabe Davis.
Well, we got more points than we would have got from A.J. Brown.
And
Deebo Samuel going to miss a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Deebo's going to miss some.
49ers off to a tough start, but
yeah, they're 1-1. No Deebo for probably, I don't know, he might go in IR, but at least a couple weeks. And then McCaffrey's probably open-ended.
And we're waiting to see what happens with Justin Jefferson. So week 2 is decimating teams. And when it's not injuries, it's play. We got Bryce Young for the Panthers already getting benched after game 2 for the Red Rider. Is that right? The Red Menace?
Bryce Young is benched for Andy Dalton. He is like a bad penny. You can't get rid of him. I mean, but he's won some games in Cincinnati. He does some good things. Bottom line, you would think by now that these teams would plan ahead. They saw how the template Green Bay had. They brought in Aaron Rodgers. They sat him for 4 years. Okay? And look what turned out. Then they do the same thing with Jordan Love. And you're seeing Jordan Love is hurt right now, but you've seen what Jordan Love did after sitting down. So this whole thinking that these young rookie quarterbacks are going to come in and save the team, most of these teams that they come in at are terrible. I mean, Chicago is one of the rare teams that actually has a number 1 quarterback coming in that has kind of a team built around them already. But that's because of unusual circumstances. Most teams that draw those top picks are bad in every facet of the game. The quarterback will not save them, but what they're doing is they're destroying these young quarterbacks' futures because they're throwing them from a college-style offense to a pro-style playbook.
Yeah, it's trial by fire.
And it's failure. Most guys can't be like Peyton Manning to come in right away. Even Patrick Mahomes, he sat 1 year. So I'm not saying Bryce Young is going to be the future or was going to be the future or ever will be, but throwing him into that team that is a dumpster fire, even with Andy Dalton in there, that team in general is not particularly strong.
I just double-checked. Andy Dalton's 36. I feel like Andy Dalton's been playing football as long as I've been watching.
Forever.
Back with the Bengals. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, but there's a certain point where it's going to start becoming a foot race between a couple of teams, namely the Giants and Panthers right now, looking like the two front runners for that first pick in the draft in Wisconsin next year.
Yep.
Let's go back to positives though, because you even said like, don't sleep on him. Like just it was week 1. Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yep.
showed up for week 2. Like how many fantasy owners might have pulled an early trigger thinking that was a mistake?
Oh yeah, Marvin
and
Harrison
Arizona
Jr.
just like lit it up in the first half with him.
Yeah, if you're a fantasy owner and you had Marvin Harrison Jr., that guy crushed it. I mean, he was huge in that game and huge for the win. They literally beat the brakes off the Rams. I picked that Arizona would do that. I thought that Marvin Harrison Jr. would bounce back, and they did. So it was.
And they did that for half of a game with Cooper Kupp. Now they don't even have Cooper Kupp.
Right.
Like how you said, who's going to even score if they weren't scoring at that point? And then I'm going to ask your opinion on this, and then we'll start getting to some of these picks for today. Is Sam Darnold legit in Minnesota, or is this circumstantial that the way the teams he's played against have played?
I'm going to have to watch a few more weeks of Sam Darnold doing this. I mean, he came out as a top draft pick, and he was super talented in college, and he never panned out in the NFL. Has he found a home in Minnesota? I mean, he's got the weapons, right? He has Aaron Jones, who's looking pretty solid. They're going to have a TJ Hawkinson that comes back when he comes back from injury. That's a huge tight end play, but he's out still. Jefferson. I mean, they didn't even have Jordan Adelson playing their number 2 wide receiver because he's out in injury. And yet they still they beat the brakes off
that was
the Niners. I mean, that game was gross. I mean, the Niners, I don't know what's going on.
And this week, unlike week 1, like the underdogs did not come through on week 1. And week 2 was the week of the underdogs. I didn't actually read the whole article.
Yeah.
But it even said Vegas got wrecked this week by underdogs covering. And like a lot of money left the sportsbook coffers.
Yep.
It's going to be a long season. Let's get into the games. Remember, guys, if you enjoy the content, please make sure you like and subscribe. It really does make a difference if you click the thumbs up button. And we always field comments down below. We take them all to consideration, but obviously we're here to have fun. So that's what we're doing.
Absolutely.
So speaking of fun, which leads to misery, let's get into the picks for week 3. Thursday, September 19th. Let's go with a barn burner. The surprise New England Patriots at the Jets. Jets at home, -6.5. And okay, so here we go. Guy who just like watches sports casually and gets minimally involved versus you. The way the Jets have been playing, the way the Patriots have been playing, they lost a very close one. 6.5 points. They think the Jets are going to turn around that fast and just blow the Patriots out that way by a whole touchdown?
I mean, the Patriots are 1-1. The Jets are 1-1, right? The Patriots beat the Bengals pretty decisively with defense. The Patriots almost beat Seattle, and with defense. And now all of a sudden it's the Jets, who people would have thought they would have played better, but they played poorly against San Fran, and then they played particularly well against Tennessee. This is an interesting game. I mean, this is the one where
6.5. That feels big.
If you would have talked about this matchup before week 1 started,
you Jets all the way.
It would have been this Jets.
Jets.
Jets. It would have been a Jets rollover. Now, different conversation. But guess what? In New York, they came off a win. They're going to be hyped. And 6.5 feels like a lot of points because it is in the NFL. But the Jets are going to get it done. Jets, Jets. They're going to cover the 6.5. Aaron Rodgers is going to have a good game. It's a big rivalry. The Jets hate the Patriots and vice versa. The Jets remember how they got worked by Tom Brady for decades. And now the script is flipped. The Jets get it done. Double-digit win for the Jets. 6.5 cover. Boom.
You know, honestly, I actually was just thinking now, I don't think I hate the Patriots as much as I used to, because I think the whole Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era is pretty much wiped out now. And so good for the Patriots for surpassing expectations so far.
You're growing as an individual now. You're not.
Well, there's some more teams I'm hating even more, so we'll get into that one as well. No Friday night game this week again, so let's jump to Sunday for our 10 a.m. games. Actually, we didn't mention this in the beginning too. So Los Angeles Chargers at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh 2-0. Pittsburgh favored by 2 points at home, and it has been reported. I don't think there's any doubt about this. Justin Fields is starting, but there's not a bad situation to have. Whereas on one hand, Miami loses Tua, and you got Skylar Thompson, I think it is, in relief to come on. That's not a bad thing at this point, the way Justin Fields is playing, even though he has one touchdown, I think, offensively in the 2 games. He's playing
right.
well and they're winning. Right. And you have Russell Wilson in the background, who may not be the Russell Wilson of the old.
Well, there's not a quarterback controversy right now in Steelers because of the fact that Russell Wilson's banged up. He can't play anyway.
Hamstring? Hammy?
I have a couple different issues, but yeah. I mean, so basically with him banged up, Mike Tomlin's going to go with, and Mike Tomlin goes with a hot hand. So make no mistake, Russell Wilson, if he's ready to go next week and the Steelers win this week, he's going to play Justin Fields. He doesn't mince words there. He did that with Mason Rudolph. Now the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh, welcome to the NFL. Welcome back. Chargers 2-0.
Yeah.
Tied for first place in the division.
Let's not forget, it's still the Chargers. So that's a long season to go.
But that's what's impressive. The Chargers haven't started 2-0 since a long time. I don't know the date, but it's a lot of years. And they're doing it pretty convincingly with a great run game. Their defense plays well. And they don't have they don't have much of a receiving core right now. And yet they're finding ways to win football games. They have a great stable of running backs. Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, all looking really good early on. J.K. Dobbins is a pleasant surprise to fantasy football people. This game, Chargers at Steelers, it's a hard place to win. It is hard to come into Pittsburgh, a team that travels better than just about any team in the league. So here we go, Chargers at Steelers, and I'm going to say defense is going to get it done, and I think the Steelers at home in a tough environment, Justin Fields, they're going to have a better offensive output this game. The Chargers have to travel once again from West Coast to East Coast, and that's a thing, people. It makes a big difference. Chargers had to travel from West Coast to East Coast in week 2, and they got to do it again in week 3. They ground out a win against Atlanta, and they did it again in week 2, but wins are wins. And when you're winning, you're coming home with a lot of momentum, and the momentum is going to continue on as the Chargers at Steelers -2. We're going to take the Steelers -2. You can take that one to the bank all day long. Steelers -2. Boom.
All right. Third game in the morning. You dodged a slight bullet here. We had a little side bet going on that you were going to paint your nails the Chicago Bears colors, that the Bears could have pulled it off. Did not happen. You were sweating a bit.
Holy man, that game did get nervous. And at the end, it came down to, a play that could have been made. And somehow I told Mike on Monday, I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling pretty grateful because right now I could be having to shop for Chicago Bears.
If he cared about the views, he would have actually done it anyway, so we would have gotten the clicks. But that's okay. I got some more bets in mind for you.
All I can say is Feathers hedge pick bets 1-0, baby.
All right, the Chicago Bears are going to try and bear down at the Indianapolis Colts. Colts favored by a point.
We're going to start with this. Caleb Williams is just as bad as I said he was going into week 2. Okay, the guy, he showed a couple flashes, which Chris Collinsworth was all singing his praises early on for what he could make a couple mediocre plays. I mean, he was trying way too hard to build up Caleb Williams, and in the end, he is averaging the league worst since a decade, 3-point-something yards per pass. He's terrible, and he's got a good offense around him, and he's surrounded by a good defense. That defense keeps the Bears in games the first couple weeks. So the difference in this game is CJ Stroud's not much of a runner, whereas Richardson will just take off and he'll cut the Bears defense up if he needs to. The problem is Richardson hasn't been passing very well. Jonathan Taylor had flashes looking pretty good against Green Bay's defense, which was very stingy. This game is a battle, but I'm going to give the nod to the home team, and the Colts are going to get it done against the Bears. The Bears had a fluke win in week 1. We found out who they are in week 2. And in week 3, the Bears lose. They'll go to drop to 1-2. The Colts will get the W and get themselves to 1-2 after.
Yeah, Colts need that.
Yeah, Colts need it because teams that actually start 0-3, their playoff chances are next to 0.
All right, next game has the team you did not think, the next purple team, would be 2-0 to start this season. And again, here's a close one. What do you take? It's the Houston Texans at the Minnesota Vikings. Texans favored by 2.5.
This is wild. We're in this spot. So we got 2-0 versus 2-0. Okay. 2-0 versus 2-0.
Somebody must win. Well, no, that's not true. Somebody could tie.
Minnesota should not be 2-0. I mean, no one had thought they would be, but they are 2-0. Okay? They've earned where they're at. They beat the Niners convincingly. Week 1, they looked great. Now it's the Texans coming into town, and we're going to find out what is this Minnesota team made of. I mean, they're at home. They're very tough to beat at home. Justin Jefferson's banged up. As of right now, I'm assuming he's going to play, but he is a question mark. And if he does not play, that can change things. If he does play, that can change things. But in this case, the Texans minus 2.5, I'm going to ride the Texans. The Texans are... I'm a little bit concerned about Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon started out really good this year, and he got banged up. Hopefully, he's going to be back in time to be able to play. But this offense, I mean, between their top 3 wide receivers for Houston and a solid tight end, and C.J. Stroud, a quarterback, and a defense that's strongly improved over the last couple years in the Texans, Minnesota's just going to fall short this one. We're going to go with the Houston Texans minus 2.5. They're going to get it done, and we're going to take that one to the bank. Yes, sorry, Justin. The purple people eaters are going down, and Minnesota is going to be 2-1. Texans 3-0. Off and running. The best team in Texas, for sure.
Save a horse, ride a Texan. Sorry, I apologize for that one. The New York Giants at the Cleveland Browns. Browns favored by 6 points. Browns not looking like anything good, and then the Giants, of course, look like utter garbage. So, by virtue of just one team sucking less than another.
Okay, so be nice. Your Giants played a good football game in week 2.
All right, they did.
They did not look
better.
bad. They actually were the far better team. It's just circumstances prevented them from winning.
But it's those stupid circumstances. I can understand like losing because we didn't play well or whatever, but then when you make just bonehead mistakes that cost you, I'm not enjoying this season for the first time in and not because they're losing. I'm used to that. Just I'm finally at a point where I don't want to watch. I just don't care. I'm sorry. I'm just
You're not
ranting
happy,
again. I'm not happy with my Giants
Once again,
this year.
comment down below. Mike needs a hug.
Mike needs a hug. I didn't check. Did I get any hugs last week?
No hugs. People have no sympathy for you
type
whatsoever.
Hug on the phone, you get the hug emoji. Just comment. Give me a comment down below.
So now you got the Browns, and Deshaun Watson looked a little bit better in week 2, but I just don't have a lot of faith in that guy. But I do have faith in that defense, and I do have faith in that coaching staff. The franchise in general, I feel, is looking for an out to be able to dump Deshaun Watson. And there is a clause in his contract that they just snuck in. They removed the clause where if he gets suspended, they can take away all of his guaranteed money and they can dump him. But until then, we're going to, see what happens football-wise. And as far as I'm concerned, with that Browns defense at home in the dog pound, I rode the Giants the last 2 weeks. Not going to happen this time. The Browns are going to get it done. They're at home. That defense single-handedly will have to do it on their own, but they will. They're going to shut down the Giants quite a bit, and they're going to cover the 6 points, which seems like a lot, but the Browns are going to get it done, and they're going to cover 6. Boom.
I could be wrong on this next one, but I think looking at all the games in the morning, this might be the most intriguing matchup. The Philadelphia Eagles at the New Orleans Saints. Which, if we talk about in the beginning of the season, if I said this was the week 3 game, would you have thought the Saints would be favored at home by 1.5?
No.
Not at all.
No.
This will be a telltale game, I think, for both teams.
This would have been like the Eagles by like 5 or 6 probably, because
there
was zero expectation for the Saints part. So here we go. This line opened up Eagles -3. It quickly went Saints -2.5. Right now, as of right now, it's settled down Saints -1.5. The Saints have put up 90 points in 2 games?
Yeah, it's insane.
They're
and convincingly.
Their brand new offensive coordinator Gary Kubiak's son. He's looking good. I mean, this offense is looking good. Alvin Kamara is looking like the Alvin Kamara of old. Derek Carr is playing solid football, and this defense is savage. I mean, they beat the brakes off the Cowboys, which the Cowboys are used to getting the brakes beat off of, because this team is appearing to be kind of fraudulent at this point because they have a bad coach, a worse owner, and a team that is, I don't know, a lot of me going on in that team. And they got paid. CD got paid. Dak got paid. Micah Parsons wanted to get paid. But in the end, they're losing games. So in this case, we're going to take the Saints. The Saints are going to get it done. They look good in week 1 and 2. They're going to continue it at home. The Eagles' defense is problematic. The Eagles' backfield, you saw how quickly the Eagles gave up that touchdown to Kirk Cousins, just drove down the field. And this is something that's a recipe for teams to use in the future on this young defensive backfield for the Eagles, is that they did draft some defensive players to reach some of their needs, but they're young, they're inexperienced, and they're just not solid. The bottom line, not to mention the Eagles are very tender right now because they had some adversity last year. They had a really bad finish, and now they squander a game that was a sure win at the end, and now they're sitting 1-1. Finger pointing going on. I mean, they're keeping a unified front, right? They're all supporting each other, but I just don't see the Saints having. The Eagles are not going to come in and get this win on the road. Is it possible? It's always a possibility. It's the NFL. It's only week 3, but I'm going to take the home team only, to cover a 1.5 against the Eagles. They're going to get it done. I think the Saints win by double digits again. There we go. What do you think?
When you said, I feel very strongly about the Saints. This is one I actually feel like going to bring too much firepower to the Eagles, which sounds crazy, but they're not going to have A.J. Brown, right? So obviously a lot of workload, a lot of short outlet passes are going to go to Barkley.
Right.
They're going to be prepared for that. And without having to have A.J. Brown on one side of the field and Barkley going the other way, that allows the defense to try and tighten up those choke points a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then if Derek Carr can come out there firing and Kamara's hot, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Do you happen to know what the over-under was to put you on the spot?
I don't.
I feel like it's going to be like in the high 40s or
probably
it's like 48.5 or something.
Yeah,
it
might
that.
Be between 48 and 51. If I
was like, I'd almost say I could see that game going over.
Well, considering the Saints put up 90 points the first 2 weeks, and the Eagles' defense has not been great.
Right.
I mean, they played well last week. I mean, in week 2 they played fairly well until the end.
Right.
But in week 1 they didn't look great.
Well, here's something too you can't statistically quantify, but I mean, I'm not going to do the Al Bundy. Like back in my day, I played sport. Okay, it was over 30 years ago. But sometimes when you have the momentum that the Saints have and the confidence right now, and you're the Eagles and you don't want to start off 1-2, all the pressure is on the Eagles on the road.
Oh yeah.
Like the Saints kind of have a lot of stuff going for them in this one. So I'm watching in the end. It'll be 16-12 and all field goals. Because that's the NFL this season, folks.
Yeah,
you like field goals.
It's going to be interesting. I think that we'll see. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
All right, 2 more morning games left. We have Denver Broncos at the Tampa Bay Bucks. They were actually horses. It'd be the Equine Bowl. It'd be like the Broncos at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield fighting to get his pizza commercials back. 2-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are 6.5-point favorites at home against the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, the Broncos 0-2, Buccaneers 2-0, Bucks are at home. Bo Nix has been okay. He's been one of the better rookie quarterbacks this year. Sean Payton needs this win. I mean, they go 0-3. I mean, there's not a lot of hope for the Broncos anyway this year. It's not like anyone was picking them to go anywhere. Like I said, I picked them, I think, under whatever their win-loss was. And they're definitely heading in that direction. Do they have potential for the future? Possibly. I think Bo Nix is looking like he's got a good future ahead of him potentially. But
potentially,
the Buccaneers, though, I mean, man, Baker Mayfield, he is gritty. If I'm going to pick one word to describe Baker Mayfield, is gritty.
Yeah.
And this team believes in whatever they got going on, and they have the firepower to win games. Chris Godwin is looking great. Fantasy owners are super happy about that. Mike Evans is looking fine. And they got a young running back field. Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say. And the Buccaneers are a pleasant surprise for Buccaneers fans. And they're looking good and poised. A lot of people kind of, dismissed them a little bit for the division. They figured Atlanta's going to be on top. And then, Tampa Bay probably right there with New Orleans. But it's a different story right now. The Buccaneers look legit. They're at home, and they're going to go 3-0. They're going to cover.
Agreed.
They're going to cover the 6.5. Once again, a lot of points. These home teams are going to win early on in this particular slate of games most of the time, and these spreads are a little bit bigger. And last week, spreads 6 points or higher. The underdog was 9-0, I believe. So week 2, if a team was favored by 6 points or more, 9-0, the underdog. And in a good chunk of those, the underdog won outright. Not just cover.
Yeah.
They won. So I'm bucking the trend this week. I already took the Browns at the -6, and I'm going to take the Bucks at the -6.5 because I just don't see a path for Denver to come into Tampa Bay. They're young, and they're just still unaccomplished or unpolished. And Baker at home, like I said, gritty. Bucks -6.5. Boom.
The last game for the morning, and remember, we're trying to keep this program to an hour or less. Green Bay Packers at the Tennessee Titans. Titans favored by 3. You actually said something interesting, too, about who's your backup, who's been playing?
Malik Willis. He looked great.
Decent.
He had almost a perfect QBR. I think he was 14 of 15, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and he played a great managed football game behind a defense that has the most takeaways in the NFL. 5. Last year, Green Bay had 7 takeaways the whole year. They got 5.
Really?
Yeah, they have 7 interceptions the whole year.
Okay.
They have 5 already this year. So now it's going to be the battle of the former Titans quarterback that got shunned versus the current future Titans quarterback of the future. And it comes down to the Packers defense is going to just put a beating on Will Levis. They're in Tennessee. Tennessee is a good defense. Most people think that Green Bay won't be able to do much against that defense, which is possible. I mean, they may not be able to do a ton, but I think that they're going to get themselves in good spots with making defensive plays on Will Levis that finds a way to basically lose games and to make catastrophic mistakes. So I'm going to go Green Bay plus the 3 all day long. You can take that to the bank. Green Bay plus 3 on the road. Going to win 2 in a row without their guy, Jordan Love.
All right, that's the slate of morning games. I'll have had a breakfast burrito by then, getting ready for a lunchtime snack, and I might get up and get it during the first of the 1:05 p.m. games. The 0-2 Carolina Panthers fighting for that first-round pick next year against the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders -5.5, and I think you told me it was opened at 7, and it's already dropped to 5.5.
Yep, the Raiders they're coming home to Las Vegas. Their home opener after a epically surprising beating of Baltimore Ravens. They beat the Ravens, and much to the chagrin of all the survivor pools.
Oh, yeah.
Las Vegas Circus Survivor took a huge hit. There was literally...
I was going to mention this when we got to the Ravens game, but how many people are now out of the pool because of this game?
That one game was 27%. 27% of the remaining entries were picking the Ravens to survive. But in week 2, the Circus Survivor, and this is before, I don't know exactly what percentage picked the Eagles, but it was a fairly decent percentage, I think. Not a ton, but 48% of the entries were eliminated in week 2 going into the Eagles Monday night game.
That is insane.
And there was a good chunk of people on the Eagles. So roughly 4,000 entries from a grand total of 14,200.
In week 3.
And it's only going into week 3.
Wow.
So $14.2 million-ish to the winner take all. So, you know what? Raiders. We're going Raiders. I am not taking Andy Dalton and the Panthers. I know he's going to come in and maybe he's going to create a bump. I'm not sure, but the bump's not going to happen in Raider Nation. Carolina's going to come in, and I'm not going to give these guys. Carolina is on my dead to me list until further notice. Raiders -5.5. They're going to get it done. Devontae Adams looked good, and hey, there's some Raider hype going on after a big victory, and hopefully they parlay it into not a letdown. I mean, that would be Raider-like to beat the Ravens in Baltimore and then lose to the Carolina Panthers at home. That is Raider-like, but it's not going to happen. Raiders -5.5. Take it to the bank. Boom.
All right. And then a second 105 game. All right, here we go. Miami Dolphins at the Seattle Seahawks, the battle of ocean and air. The Seahawks, those birds are favored by 5.5 points.
Here's the thing. The Dolphins, I hate to break the news to Dolphins fans, but Tua is not that great at quarterback. Okay? He has a great offense around him.
Giants would take him
and
in a heartbeat.
The Giants would take anybody.
We may not take Skylar Thompson, but yeah, we would. Go ahead.
So right now the backup from Miami, which his name is what? Skylar?
I think it's Skylar Thompson. I've been saying that. I will double check and confirm.
He almost went into Buffalo and won a playoff game. Okay. So he's capable, and if he has a full week of practice as the starter QB1, I really think that it's going to be a different result. I think, unfortunately, when he came in last week under the situation he was in, it was a no-win situation. But you know what? The Dolphins with that defense, the offense, and the Seahawks, who are very tough and formidable at home, right? Traditionally, it's a tough place to win in Seattle. But Seattle is not going to get it done this time. The Dolphins, too many points. Dolphins plus 5.5. It's possible the Dolphins don't win. I think personally that they're going to win outright, but they're going to cover the 5.5. Dolphins plus 5.5. They're going to get it done. Boom.
All right. And then we got 2 more games starting later in the afternoon at 1:25 as usual. Detroit Lions at the Arizona Cardinals. Lions favored by 3 on the road. Actually, now that I look at it, too, this might be the interesting game of the afternoon.
There's 3 afternoon games, or 3 1:25 games, and they're all the road teams are favored. So the road teams are favored in all 3 afternoon games. Lions at Cardinals, what to say? Jared Goff looked terrible last week in week 2. The defense didn't look particularly impressive. Some coaching errors by Dan Campbell, and the Cardinals just look outstanding. I'm not saying that the Cardinals are going to be the team, this year, but everything kind of fired against a Rams team that basically is a wounded duck. This game's going to be a little bit tricky, but when it's all said and done and the smoke clears, take the Lions -3. They're going to cover against the Cardinals. This defense of the Cardinals is not going to hold up to this running game, and this is a different Lions team than in past years, and they had a rough go in week number 2, but they're going to get back on track, and the Lions are going to get it done -3.
Nice. All right, here we go. 2 teams. Will the real Cowboys please stand up, as you would say? Baltimore Ravens are on the road at the Cowboys, and as you're already spoiled, the Ravens are the favorite, but only by a point.
The Ravens are going to be fine. The Ravens are so spoiled. They're calling for Jim Harbaugh's head. Like, literally, they wanted him to be replaced because of blowing the double-digit lead or whatever in the fourth quarter. The guy is a great coach. I mean, he's a great coach. He didn't do anything wrong in that game. I mean, it's just one of those things that weird stuff happens. The NFL is weird. These guys are all really great athletes, and on any given day, it comes down to who just played better or who just made more plays. The Ravens are going to make more plays than this one. The Ravens are going to come into Jerry World. They're going to get the win. Derrick Henry is going to just run all over them. And this defense is going to put a hurt on Mr. Dak Prescott. Ravens win, and I think it's double digit. Ravens win by double digits in this one. The Cowboys are going to be left reeling, and Jerry is not going to be a happy camper. His $60 million is not going to pay off for Dak Prescott this week. Ravens get the win, much needed. Go to 1-2, and they keep hope alive.
Let's finish it off with the San Francisco 49ers on the road at the LA Rams. We talked earlier, the Rams are just decimated as far as offensive players. 49ers are hurting a bit, but still able to hold up pretty well. I think they were still ranked like the number 2 power ranking team, even though they lost this week. So if you can lose a game and still be ranked in the top 3, like, okay, don't panic yet, 49er faithful. Bang, bang, gang. But 49ers are favored by 7 on the road.
A 7-point road favorite is something
That's
else.
insane.
It's something else. And it's a lot of points, especially for a team that just got beat pretty handily by, the Vikings.
Once again, welcome to the NFL this season.
But the Rams are that decimated. Their offensive line is done at the moment. They lost their wide receiver 1 and 2. Matt Stafford has nobody to throw to. So what else is Vegas going to do? I think that line could go from 7 to possibly 8 by kickoff. Maybe 8.5. I mean, it's hard to say. But the Niners -7, as painful as it is to do due to the circumstances of their team situation, no Deebo Samuel, no Christian McCaffrey.
Imagine if they had them, what the line would be. It'd be like 9.5.
It'd be up there. It'd be double digits probably.
Might be
10. But the Niners are going to get it done. They're going to cover the spread. It seems high. I hate laying all these points sometimes, especially to on a road team. But Niners -7. It's going to be like 3/4 Niner fans, in the stands for the Rams game. And the Niners is going to be essentially a home game for them. They're going to get it done. 49ers -7. Boom.
All right, we're going to go to Sunday night. And one of these games, I got a good bet. Never mind your finger painting nails like Caleb Williams. We're going to dress you up as a Swiftie on one of these games. And you're so confident on the Chiefs losing. I'm going to get you the Taylor Swift shirt. I'm going to get you the pennant. We're going to do like a little Taylor Swift eye makeup for you.
I don't know.
And I'm going to get you a Travis Kelce doll pillow to hug. And
if there's a game that I'm going to commit to that, we'll see. But if I do, it's because the Chiefs are going to lose, because I am not going to be in a Swiftie outfit. I'll tell you that right now. So,
but you won't have to paint your nails if that happens. I'll give you that much. So there we go. Kansas City Chiefs at the Atlanta Falcons. Chiefs on the road. They were by 4 points. Kirk Cousins earning some money this past Monday night.
He put together a hell of a drive at the end. He looked pretty solid overall. He's a veteran. He knows all of his reads. It's like breathing for the guy. The guy is a player's quarterback. Like, he bleeds for that team he's with, and he gives max effort. And the Falcons are happy to have him with a nice rookie quarterback that's sitting back.
There you go. He's sitting back on the bench for maybe
bench.
not even a year. But the way they're playing, though.
Well, I hope they're smart and they bring him along and they do what the Packers did, and they sit him back for 2 or 3 years and, maybe even 4 years. And
it can be tough, though, I think, if you're a player who wants to get that money, right? You don't want to sit you look at a Brock Purdy who got thrust into a situation, and now 3 years later, he's set for a huge payday.
Yeah, well, Jordan Love did too, and look, he got paid.
That's what I'm saying. But as a quarterback, I'd rather be out there ready to go, and maybe you sacrifice a year or two, but you have longevity and a permanent career, right? That's just my 2 cents on that.
So Chiefs now without Pacheco, coming into Atlanta, which is a tough place to play. Atlanta's a solid team. They're at home. Shout out to their owner. They have the cheapest snacks ever of any football stadium.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, they're everything. Sodas, hot dogs, all the food, super cheap. Like, they're cheap. You could bring a family of 4 to eat there they're cheap. Pretty cool.
If they start winning, hopefully that won't change.
That's a nice thing for him to do. He wants to give back a little, and that's his way of doing it. So
that's awesome.
Falcons +4. We're gonna ride the Falcons all day long. Too many points. I'll take the home dog 4 points over a field goal all day long. I think the Falcons can win this one outright. I think the Chiefs were on borrowed time after week 2. Week 2 was rough. I think Worthy was kind of nowhere to be found. Kelsey's been nowhere to be found. Patrick Mahomes, 150 yards passing. I know he always finds a way and burns me. But this team lost Pacheco, which is a huge piece of this team. A lot of people, Pacheco, me included, thought Pacheco was going to be a huge, huge, important part of this team. And now he's gone for about 8 weeks, and they're having to bring in. I mean, they have a young guy that's going to come in behind and might do okay. But this Chiefs team is going to come in, and barring a whole bunch of officiating bad calls, Falcons +4, take the points. Boom.
All right, we move on to Monday night, where we're going to have 2 Monday night football games. The first one starting at 4:30 p.m. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars playing at Buffalo Bills, and the Bills are a 5.5 point favorite. Interesting, because the Jaguars seem a little bit like crap, and the Bills 2-0. And you have Josh Allen, and they're only favored by 5.5 points at home. Decimated 49ers on the road, favored by 7. Go back a couple of games.
I mean, the Jaguars, I can't figure them out. Every year.
We get screwed by the Jaguars a lot.
Whether it's bets, the Jags and the Colts last year, all year long. Yeah, I mean, the Jaguars have the pieces on offense. They have a good... Trevor Lawrence isn't playing great, so that's a problem. But they have a great running back in Travis Etienne. They got, a couple solid receivers, but Christian Kirk did nothing last week, and they're not looking good. The coaches aren't making good decisions. I feel like, and the Bills are at home, and the Bills home at Monday night with Josh Allen. It's a no-brainer at this point. -5.5. It seems like that's a low line, but not really, because Jacksonville. I think the NFL I think the Vegas realizes the Jaguars are a better team than what they did the first couple weeks, and I think so as well. But in this case, Jacksonville traveling to Buffalo on a Monday night. I'm going to take Josh Allen 100% of the time in this spot. -5.5. Take the Bills. Boom.
All right, let's wrap it up Monday night, and this one starts at 5:15 p.m. The Washington Commanders at the Cincinnati Bengals. I believe it's written here the Bengals are 7-point favorites at home.
We are in a world right now in the NFL season where a team that is 0-2 gets to be 7-point favorite at home. I mean, they're at home, but should any team be 7-point favorites after starting out 0-2? And the answer is yes, because the Bengals are not a true 0-2 team. Let's be real. They had a bad week 1. They've been without T. Higgins for both weeks.
And history is on their side for starting off slow.
Yeah, and history, they always start off slow. We know this last couple of years. Joe Burrow tends to do that, and his team starts off slow. But also, they played a better game last week. They should have beat the Chiefs. That game was theirs to win. And so that 0-2 record looks a little bit more murky than it really is if you dig into it and you see, what week 2 is all about. So to me, Vegas looks like the Bengals are a 1-1 team. They look sharp last week on defense. They look sharp on offense. And just a few mistakes happen. Otherwise, the Bengals are 1-1. So Commanders, on the other hand, could not score an offensive touchdown against the Giants. And they were in Washington. And I just think the Bengals team is too talented on offense, and they have a solid defense that's underachieving right now. At least they were in week 1. They underachieved. The Bengals are going to cover this number. Another big number. And another cover. And it's going to be one of those weeks that the favorites better come home, but I just don't see a path that you take the Commanders on the road. They can't figure out how to score a touchdown against the Giants. I don't know how they're going to succeed against the Bengals, and I think the Bengals offense is going to get right. I'm hoping that T. Higgins is going to play this week, but either way, with or without him, the Bengals will get it done between their tandem running backs. Joe Burrow looks solid. Bengals get it done, -7. Boom.
And the Bengals go in with the added benefit of having a guy who can kick field goals in McPherson. So if that's the Commanders' new default play, is to make sure that the team has no kicker, they're going to be in trouble.
Shout out to McPherson. He got us a bunch of fantasy points last week and won one of our games.
Oh. Maybe we'll get some more definitive answers one way or another for some teams this week, and the picture will start being a bit clearer. It's amazing in a sport where you play for 18 weeks, right, with the bye week, that you're making decisions on the future of a team like by week 3, and that's how the game works. Like we said, you start 0-3, enjoy your early vacation.
Yeah, the overall NFL picture for 2024 is wide open. I mean, right now,
except for maybe the Giants and the Panthers.
Yeah, the door's closed on the Giants and the Panthers. That's a safe bet. Better luck next year, 2025.
You know what? Next week, I'm not going to rag on the Giants at all.
All I can say, Giants might be getting the number 1 draft pick.
And we might be able to see it if we go to the draft.
That's true. At Lambeau Field this year, 2025 draft. Pretty exciting.
And we're going to take like a defensive back or something. Be a kicker. That's what the Giants do. The fight for the first round pick and not know how the hell to use it.
Right on.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. We'd actually like to hear from some of you. And very cool, a lot of you have been popping up, 2 or 3 people a week at the poker table for you or at the Westgate coming up and say hi.
Yep.
So we enjoy it. We just like having fun. And if you want to be on the podcast and give a shout out, we'll record you and stick you in the following week's video. Wait, I have one complaint before we go. The food cart that's always by the poker room wasn't there. What the hell happened?
Now they moved it to by the theater.
No, we walked by the theater, Mr. Fancy Pants Theater. Theater. And there wasn't even outside. They were serving food inside and they wouldn't let me on my backpack. No pretzel sticks. I guess that's probably good for my diet. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you had fun, and we will see you next week.
And until then, take it to the bank. Boom.